everyone. So today's video is going to be another sit down video, and this is one that I get asked a ton of questions on in my DMs, in my comments, and that is how to transition your baby from breast milk to formula. So we're gonna be going over like all little tips and tricks that I used, and then also a bunch of tips and tricks that I have found very helpful from other moms that I've spoken to. So I'm really excited to get into it, and I hope this helps make your transition easier for one, if you're having trouble breastfeeding, two, if you're just like needing help with from your partner because you are exhausted from breastfeeding or you're exhausted from pumping, or three, if you're getting ready to go back to work and you're like, what do I do? I was exclusively breastfeeding. How do I get this baby to take a bottle and to take formula? So before we get into it, make sure to click that subscribe button if you're brand new. We are doing vlogmas over on this channel this month, and then also I'm throwing in some fun sit down videos for you guys too. So definitely hit that subscribe button and let's go ahead and get on into it. Before we start off with this video, I do want to say that if you are having any guilt about not being able to breastfeed or having struggles with breastfeeding, struggles with supply, or getting ready to go back to work and not being able to breastfeed 24/7 anymore, I know it is so hard, but just know that fed is best. Having them getting their nutrients that they need is the most important thing. And I know it's easier said than done to kind of like say, oh, it's okay, but it is okay. And if you're feeling any guilt, I know how you feel. I just really want to make that message very clear to you guys because I know the struggles. And for me, going into it, I had a very hard experience with breastfeeding. I have to say, breastfeeding across the board is exhausting for everyone. Even if you have an easier experience, it's still exhausting, but there are easier experiences than others. And I had a hard experience and my sisters had an easy experience. We were both very exhausted, but I definitely had a harder time than she did with breastfeeding and latching and supply and all that. So I definitely want to just make that very known. And if you're worried about your bond with your baby, there's definitely things that you can do to help still establish that bond, even if you're unable to breastfeed. First off, you can do skin on skin, maybe do skin on skin for about 60 minutes a day. Make sure there's no covers or clothing between the two of you and just lay with both of you. It really helps calm the baby, soothe the baby, and actually help regulate their blood sugar to a healthy level, which is really interesting. It just creates a really strong attachment. So skin on skin is so important, not just right after birth, but even in those newborn months. So definitely keep doing skin on skin. That will really help you create that bond there. Also, when you're feeding them and you're having to feed them a bottle, do skin on skin while you're feeding them the bottle. Look at them into their eyes, sing to them, have that really just close connection, and you're still gonna have that close bond with them. So those are some things that you can do if you're worried about the bond that you're gonna have with your child if you're unable to nurse. So when you're on the hunt for the right formula, it is all trial and error. We went through so many formulas, you guys. You know this from the past on my channel because I showed it in vlogs, I showed it on Instagram. We went through so many formulas. The formula that we found and worked the best for Riley was the FML Inspire one. This one is amazing. This is their closest formula to breast milk. It actually has that key ingredient in there called lactoferrin, which is only found in colostrum and breast milk. It also helps support the immune system, which is great because you know they're going to be getting sick in the first couple of years of life. It's just going to happen, especially in that first year of life when they're still so new. They're just creating the antibodies to be able to fight off stuff. So it's really good to be able to find an immune supporting formula that's gonna help that. And I definitely can say with Riley, I think she's only had like 1 or 2 colds. She's only had a couple colds, if that. And it's like the most it is usually a runny nose and maybe a little bit fussy, but no fevers or anything. So it really worked well for us. And then it also has MFGM in it and also omega-3 DHA, which is really good for their brain development. So I really love the ingredients in this one. This one worked out really, really well for us, and she loved the taste. Because let me tell you, we tried some other ones and she would get like a taste of it and be like, no, I do not want this. So, and then others would make her spit up like really, really bad. So we just found our holy grail formula right here and we love it. So I'm so excited to be able to work with them on this video and help share our experience with it. So thank you so much to FML for sponsoring a portion of this video. Okay, so starting from the beginning, let's say your breastfeeding experience is amazing, everything is going great, but you have to go back to work in 3 to 6 months or depending how long you are taking maternity leave for. So What you want to do is you want to wait until 3 to 4 weeks after the baby is born to really establish breastfeeding and making sure that you have good latches, making sure that everything is going great. And then you want to introduce a bottle. And if you know that you're going to be going back to work, you want to make sure you introduce that bottle within 3 to 4 weeks because you want them to be able to get used to it and be able to find the bottle that they're going to take. Because we're going to be having to take either pumped breast milk or formula in a bottle when you go back to work because you won't be able to nurse them 24/7. So before you leave them in a daycare facility, they tell you they need to be bottle trained before they go there. And there has been times where people will drop a baby off at a daycare and the baby doesn't know how to drink from a bottle and the baby is starving, so they have to send them home or tell them, you know what, they can't come back until they are bottle trained. So it is so important, but I definitely say wait till about 3 to 4 weeks. And that's when you can start with the bottle. And another good tip is that when you are introducing the bottle, babies are really picky. They're gonna be picky about different nipples on the bottles, different shapes, different flows. You want to do the slow flow nipple no matter what. And you want to do pace feeding. Look up pace feeding because that's something that's really, really important where you let them feed for a little bit and then take it back. And then let them feed a little bit and then take it back because you don't want them to get confused with that flow and realize that it's so much easier with the bottle than from you because then they're gonna prefer the bottle over you. So we don't want that confusion to happen. So you wanna do pace feeding and then you also wanna find the right bottle for them, which Riley was very picky. She would only take the Tommy Teepee in the beginning and then she eased up and took more. So definitely wait till 3 to 4 weeks. Do the pace feeding. And then another thing is let your partner feed them or someone else feed them. Because what might happen is that they might get distracted and not take it because they can smell you. Once, if you're holding them and you're trying to feed them that bottle the first time, they can be like, wait, my mom is trying to feed me a bottle, like where I want the boob. So they can get distracted and confused by your smell. So let someone else feed them. So that's another really good tip there. But remember, wait till about 3 to 4 weeks when breastfeeding is really established and then introduce the bottle. Now moving on to how to transition them from breast milk to formula. So there's definitely a ratio that you want to start out with and you want to do it slowly to kind of see how they're going to handle this transition, because I'm going to tell you right now is that their number 2 is going to be very different. The smell completely changes. Breastfed poop is very seedy and mustardy like looking and smells very sweet. Formula poop is very green and stinky. And it gets even stinkier when they go to solids 3 times a day. But when you want to do that transition is what you want to do is you want to start with 1 feed a day and pick a feed that is the most inconvenient for you. Usually one in the middle of the day, not one in the morning or the night. And then the way that you want to slowly transition them to that formula is you want to use a ratio of 25% formula and then 75% pumped breast milk. So you want to make the formula, mix it, pour it into the bottle, then grab the breast milk and pour that into, shake it up together and then feed it to them. So that's the best way to kind of slowly introduce that different taste to them. Riley transitioned extremely easily because I was only supplementing, so I was having to pump quite a bit. So I would basically pump like 2 ounces and then I would put 1 ounce of formula in there. And that's how I kind of supplemented, but she took it just fine. And that way you can kind of see, okay, what formula are they gonna like? What formula is gonna work well for their system? Because some can back them up, some can make them just explode, some can make them really fussy. So it's really all trial and error. So you just want to do that ratio for a couple days. And then after a couple days, you can move it to 50%. So you could do 50-50, 50 breast milk, 50 formula, and then a couple days, give them 100% formula and then see how that goes. But you just want to slowly work them in to kind of see how their bodies react to the formula that you're trying. And it kind of gets them used to the taste because it's definitely different. Doing the slow transition will also help you slowly reduce your supply too, especially if you're like wanting to wean them off and you're done breastfeeding. So the biggest thing is to kind of stop that 1 feed for a couple days at that time and then slowly drop a few more. And if you're pumping, make your pumping sessions, like start with 1 session and shorten it. Like say if you're pumping for 10 minutes, shorten it to 5 minutes and let yourself gradually slow down with your feeds or your pumping sessions. And that will let your supply gradually go down as well, because if you skip a feed, you'll kind of stop producing that feed, which is why if you want to keep breastfeeding for as long as possible, you never want to miss a feed. Even if you're feeding them a bottle, you want to be pumping at that time so you will still make milk at that time. But if you're trying to let your supply go and let it drop and go away, you want to slowly, gradually drop it. Otherwise, you're going to be engorged and you're going to be in pain. So that is my best tip there, is to slowly do it over time. And then kind of going into bottles, this is why in my registry video, why I did not recommend getting the bottle sets, because babies are so picky. You can buy a big set of bottles and they might not even take that nipple. They're like, I don't want this at all. So then you wasted all that money on that set of bottles, or you could have exchanged something for something else. So my biggest tip is to start with just the single bottles and just get like maybe 1 or 2 different kinds to begin with and see if they take it. And if they don't, get another one, but make sure that you have the slow flow nipple on it, which are usually on the smaller bottles. So you want to make sure that you have that. That's why I recommend not getting the sets until you know that they take that bottle, because then the sets are great if you know they're going to take it, but otherwise it's a waste. So definitely start with just a couple single bottles, see what they like, and then purchase a set where you can get more value for your money. And then also, if the baby's older, sometimes they might not even like the bottle. Let's say that they're like 10 to 11 months and you're just kind of like, okay, I'm done breastfeeding, or my supply's really tanked. You can also give them the formula in a form of a sippy cup. I really like the Nuck ones. Those are my favorite sippy cups. They work the best for Riley, and I've seen them work amazing for so many other kids. Like, that's definitely like the #1 recommended one that I have seen across the board. So you can even try doing that in there and not even have to worry about the bottle, because you're still gonna have to try to wean them off the bottle and then get them to a sippy cup to help protect their teeth. So that's another little tip there. So sometimes they'll just prefer the sippy cup over the bottle. All right, so those were all my tips and tricks on how to transition from breast milk to formula. I hope you guys found this video helpful. If you guys have any questions down below, feel free to leave the comments down there. I'm gonna sit there and reply to as many as I can, and then I'm sure a lot of you guys out there have your own experiences. So leave any of your tips and tricks, if I didn't mention them, down below too, because I love the community that we've built here, and I love how everyone just helps each other. So definitely leave all those recommendations, tips and tricks, and comments down below, and we'll just kind of talk to one another. Also, leave any other video requests down below that you guys want to see me do. And again, thank you to Enfamil for sponsoring a portion of this video. As you guys know, I love being able to work with them and share our experiences with them. So make sure to give this video a thumbs up, and I will see you guys in my next one.